48 hours after Lt Ummar Fayyaz's killing in his hometown Kulgam, Kashmir has spoken. 3,000 young men turn up for a police recruitment drive undeterred by attacks on men in uniform. It's our top focus this evening. Hello everyone, I'm Marya Shakil.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Shreya Dhoundial. We are getting ground reports from Epicentre, Kashmir. We are also speaking to the men who trained Lt Fayyaz to become the soldier that he was. Before that though, a quick check of the big headlines at 7. 48 hours after Lt Ummar's abduction and killing, Kashmir speaks. 3,000 young men turn up for a police recruitment drive in the valley. This as violence continues against the forces.
For the first time in 20 years, Lashkar to dramatically reduce their trained troops in Kashmir. The reason? Homegrown terrorists are enough to keep the pot boiling. CNN News 18 reveals the terror group's new Kashmir strategy.
Liquor laws flouted brazenly in Tamil Nadu. CNN News 18's investigation is showing how government stores are selling alcohol at a premium beyond the prescribed hours.
And the triple Talaq hearing begins in the Supreme Court. It will end in 6 days and not examine polygamy.
The big news break that we are reporting this time is coming by way of our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. This is the Lashkar-e-Taiba's new Kashmir strategy. The Lashkar will dramatically reduce their trained cadre in Kashmir. LET's top command now feels that Kashmir has become a self-festering wound. The atmosphere, quote-unquote, the atmosphere in Kashmir is so surcharged that foreign militants are now not required. Essentially, the local boys are doing a very good job. For the first time in 20 years, and this is worrying, there are more local militants than foreign ones in the valley. This year itself, of all the terrorists who have been apprehended, 110 are local militants and 90 have infiltrated. These are figures that are worrying the police now. So what does the Lashkar-e-Taiba now do with its trained cadre who are waiting across the border? Well, they will be redeployed now to Balochistan to guard the CPEC, that is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Another piece of information that is coming in is that the Lashkar has stopped appointing foreign commanders. Here's the IG, Kashmir Range, talking about the growing number of homegrown terrorists.
See, if you look at the number of people who have joined in the last 1 year, as I said, about 90 odd terrorists have new recruits in the terrorist ranks all over the valley. So these boys, we are seeing a criminalization in a way. 95 new recruits थे last year. तो there are जो 200 के करीब 200 कुछ militants अभी है, उसमें 110 के करीब जो है वो local militants है.
The 3 men from Hizbul who have been identified as Lt Ummar's killers are locals. Sokka Jacob is now joining us on this story and he joins us live from the newsroom. Sokka, it almost seems now that the local boys have been indoctrinated completely, and that's the reason why Lashkar has decided to not invest in Kashmir anymore.
That's right. I mean, previously, let's say for the last decade and a half or so, a large number of the militants, the active militants, the fighters, were ones who were infiltrated from the other side of the border, whether it was Pakistanis or in some instances there have been foreign fighters as well, Uzbeks, Chechens, etc. You heard Javed Gilani, the IG Kashmir Range, saying that for the first time in the last 20 years or so, the number of local terrorists has far outranked the number of foreign ones, and this is primarily because the Lashkar top command has made a calculation that the situation in Kashmir has become so bad that it's become almost like a self-festering wound, that the locals there have been so brainwashed that they are taking this cause up for a distorted azadi that they've been asking. The real worry for the government of India, whether it's both the central and the state governments, is how do you rein in these elements? How do you take on an entire local population, which is why they're hoping, like Lieutenant General Abhay Krishna said yesterday, that Lt Ummar Fayyaz's killing and the manner of his killing would wake up the conscience of ordinary Kashmiris in a way that they'll begin to question what is it that they're actually fighting for, and is it worth fighting for when Kashmiri is pitted against Kashmiri? I mean, look at this young officer who was picked up in the middle of a wedding, and then his body arrives the next morning in a public chalk in Shopian. So I think the real hope is that at least at some level, regular Kashmiris, ordinary people, will search deep within their conscience and ask themselves, is this a fight that's worth fighting for? Is this an azadi, as distorted as it seems, worth fighting for?
Is this a turning point in Kashmir's insurgency? That's a point that the army is trying to make. Zaka, very quickly, how has CPEC suddenly become a priority for the Lashkar?
Now, this is again, at the end of the day, the Lashkar is simply the handmaiden of the Pakistani army and the ISI. I mean, they're a creation of the ISI, and they will listen to orders from the ISI. They take instructions from GHQ. The point is, I think over the last year, maybe a year and a half or so, since the CPEC project was announced, the Pakistanis have been consistently saying that India is doing subversive activities to target CPEC, particularly in Balochistan. Even Kulbhushan Jadhav, the accusation against him was that he was allegedly involved in targeting CPEC projects in Balochistan. So the calculation that's been made by the Lashkar's masters in GHQ Rawalpindi is that, look, Kashmir has become this self-festering wound. The locals are taking care of it. We need the Lashkar assets to be diverted then to the western flanks to protect the CPEC. At the end of the day, let's not forget, the Chinese are investing something like $50 billion. They are going to want to have their monies returned, or a fair amount of return on investment. They don't want to be laying these, whether it's electric cables or oil pipelines, only for them to be blown up a week or 10 days or a month later. So I think the calculation has been made by the Lashkar's masters in GHQ Rawalpindi that some of their assets need to be diverted to Balochistan to try and protect some of these physical assets that are being brought into that part of the world because of CPEC. You also know that the Balochis themselves have been leading an insurgency for a number of decades now, and a lot of CPEC-related projects have been targeted by Balochi insurgents as well. So this could, moving away some of this Lashkar assets, could be a way to try and counter the Balochi insurgency, at least to some extent.
Sokka Jacob, I appreciate your joining us. So clear, this kind of fund crunch is leading to Lashkar also exit Kashmir. But good news, Shreya, is that Kashmiris have spoken out, and they have perhaps given the most befitting reply today in what is a clear snub to Pakistan apologists and a fitting tribute to Lt Ummar Fayyaz. 3,000 young Kashmiris turned up for a police recruitment drive in Anantnag and Bandipur.
Now, the message from the youth of Kashmir is clear. Terror will not deter them. If you remember, over the last 2 months, 11 police personnel have been killed by terrorists. And in a first, in 27 years, Marya, a young Kashmiri army officer has been killed by militants just for wearing the uniform.
And as Lt Ummar's family grieves the killing of their son, the army says they will avenge his death. At the Rajputana Rifle Center here in New Delhi, to which Lt Ummar belonged to, the mood is somber. In fact, Shreya was there earlier today to speak to the men who trained him.
48 hours ago, Lt Ummar Fayyaz was abducted and gunned down by militants in his hometown, Kulgam. He was off duty, he was unarmed, he was amongst his own. When militants came looking for him by name, he was sitting with his sister who was to get married. Lt Fayyaz was commissioned into the Indian Army, into the 2 Rajputana Rifle just 5 months ago. I'm here at the Rajputana Rifle Center in Delhi, speaking to some men who knew him and had trained him. Sir, if I can start with you, this was a young man who until 5 months ago was under your care. He was 22 years old, killed in the most brutal fashion just because he donned the Indian Army's uniform. What rankles you the most about what happened 48 hours ago?
See, when a comrade or a brother officer is no more with you, it is definitely a big loss. Not only to me, to the Rajdev fraternity also as well. And I tell you, when he joined about 5 months back in the Rajdev Center here, I had about half an hour interaction with me, and that interaction was more than other officers. The reason being is that when I came to know that he comes from Kulgam, and since I have been a company commander in Kulgam for almost about 2 years, I was more than interested and keen to know about him. And I found in Ummar a very enthusiastic, a go-getter, a young officer who was raring to do so many things in his life and wanted to serve the nation. So any loss of this kind is of course a big loss. But does it rattle us or the Indian Army? No. We are fully prepared. We are prepared, and the Indian Army is always prepared that whenever such a thing happens, we are going to take care of those people who have done such a barbaric and cowardly act against a young officer. And more so, he came from Kashmir. He was son of a Kashmir, a son of the Kashmir. And you know, when I asked him as to what motivated him to join the Indian Army, you see, very interestingly, he told me. He said, sir, a large number of young men from the Kashmir wants to be in the Indian Army. And he said, so was he. And he was very keen to join the Indian Army. But he said, I wanted to go a step further. Unlike others who've been coming as soldiers, he wanted to be a commissioned officer in the Indian Army. I think that was his aim. He was able to achieve it. And we were so happy when he joined us, because in him we found a very brilliant officer. And looking at him on those 15 days what he spent with us, I think he had a very bright future in the Indian Army.
Tell me what he was like with the troops. Because very often, you know, they say in the army, the character of an officer is defined by the way he plays with his troops and the way he deals with his troops. What do you recollect of him?
Well, during his stay in the center from 31st December to 15th of January, the officer was undergoing a young officer orientation cadre, in which he is made to participate in various games, sports activities. And we have seen him on the field. We have seen him off the field as well. The way he used to interact with open heart and the way he wants to gel with the people, that shows the character of the individual. The basic foundation, the character foundation of the individual was so strong that he was very easily gelled up with the people, the recruits, the NCO instructors, and of course the officers as well. So a person who was a very lively person and always bearing a smile on his face, that itself was a big thing, just to gel around and just to make friends, you know, quickly.
Major Kadian, not too many young men want to join the army in Kashmir, especially South Kashmir, where Lt Fayyaz came from. He was a rarity. I want to ask you if he ever spoke about his Kashmiri identity with you.
He never really mentioned his Kashmiri identity, because to me, and I believe for the past 4 or 5 years that he stayed in 4 years, 3 years in NDA and the year in IMA, he was with people from all over the country. So what I believe, the first impression that I had of him is, he believed in the identity of India. He didn't think that Kashmir was a separate part, or I'm a Kashmiri first and an Indian. So these type of things, that the questions that are coming up right now, they were never there in his mind back then. Because when he interacted with me, we never felt the need to speak about, oh, why is he coming from Kashmir, or how is it so different. He associated himself more with India first. And he was just like any other normal 22, 23-year-old officer who was coming out of the academy.
साहब, आपने उनको शूटिंग करना सिखाया. अनार्म्ड थे वो. जिस समय मिलिटेंट्स आए उनके घर में, उनका नाम पूछा और उनको ले गए. आप जब पीछे देखते हैं, आपको लगता है कि काश उनके पास एक गन होती, तो आज शायद वो जिंदा होते.
ये बेशक इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. वो एक फिजिकल फिटनेस और बहुत अच्छे फायरर थे. उनको ये धोखे से किया गया काम, कायरतापूर्ण काम था, जो कि रात में उनको किडनैप किया और फिर लेके चले गए थे। अगर उनको डर था इस बात का, अगर शायद उनके पास आर्म होता तो वो जिन्होंने ये काम किया वो शायद अपने अंजाम तक पहुंच चुके होते। तो डर था इसलिए उन्होंने धोखे से ये काम किया और बहुत दुखद बात है ये। हमारे एक साथी जिसकी भरपाई कभी नहीं हो सकती पूरी।
Major Kadian, in the last 2 months or so in the valley, we've seen anyone who's in uniform being targeted, whether, irrespective of whether you're a Kashmiri or not, that doesn't matter. Do you think it will deter young men in Kashmir from joining the army / the CRPF / the Jammu and Kashmir police?
I think not, because somebody who's willing to don the uniform, being from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, he's not indifferent to violence. He's seen it growing up, and probably that violence is the reason why he wants to don the uniform, protect his people from that same very violence. So another dastardly act like this, and the many others that have happened in the past, like you mentioned, I think it will only strengthen his resolve to pick up the gun and bring the fight back to them.
साहब, जिन लोगों ने ये काम किया, अगर वो आपको सुन रहे हैं, आप उनको क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
मैं उनको ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि वो इस धोखे में ना रहे कि वो जिंदा रहेंगे। इंशाल्लाह ताला हम उनका बदला लेंगे और उनको उनके अंजाम तक पहुँचा के रहेंगे।
Sir, my last question to you, does it say something to you when we see recruitment drives for the Indian Army, for the police, for the CRPF, when they happen in Jammu and Kashmir? There's one happening right now as well. There are so many youngsters who come there to try and get into government services, to try and don the uniform for India. Does it say something to you about Kashmir?
See, I think this is a very impression of, by this very incident that you will not have people joining the armed forces or the police. I don't think this is a myth, because it's not that this kind of an incident has happened. Earlier also they have targeted policemen, and still there is a large number of population who have come out openly for joining the Indian Army, for joining the police forces. I really feel that in the times to come, you will see the local population of the Kashmir themselves will go against these terrorists, because this is going to go against them. And I'm very sure that all of them will realize it very soon, that this kind of an act is not going to pay them. So I don't think that this will have any impact on the recruitment. I'm sure people will continue to still join the Indian Army, the police force or the paramilitary force, as it has been going on earlier.
It's been a tough moment for all of you, a tough 48 hours, but thank you very much for speaking to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shreya, Lieutenant Ummar, a life cut short. You spoke to the officers who trained him. What was the mood like? I mean, they were like really somber, but...
You know, they call them brothers. They call, Lieutenant Ummar was 22 years old. 22 years old, trained by these men who you just saw, Marya, on your screens. Trained by them 5 months ago. He was under their care. They were telling me that he was under our care 5 months ago. He was safe. He had gone home to his own people. This is not what they were expecting. It's a sad day for the Rajputana Rifles, for the Indian Army as well. Now, you've seen the men who trained Lieutenant Ummar to become the officer that he was. Now take a look at the men, local terrorists, who abducted him and killed him. These are the pictures we are putting for you on your screens. The Jammu and Kashmir police has identified Lieutenant Ummar Fayyaz killers. These are the men on your screens. They belong to Hizbul Mujahideen, essentially Burhan Wani's brothers. This group is led by a terrorist named Abbas. These are locals, Marya. Possibly they grew up close to where Lieutenant Ummar was born, close to where he grew up.
But clearly a new pattern that is emerging from the valley, Shreya. There, anybody who is in uniform is an enemy. That is the message that the boys from the valley are sending. But the good news also coming from the valley, what happened today, that there was a recruitment drive. 3,000 young boys actually turned up for that. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Coming up, CNN News 18 special investigation exposes how liquor laws are being brazenly flouted in Tamil Nadu. Details when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now we know that prohibition isn't really working in Marya's state. Bihar, Marya herself doesn't drink. But how are things in Tamil Nadu? Is their anti-liquor drive working at all? Well, it seems that the government's own Tamil Nadu Spirit Corporation, that's the TASMAC, is in very high spirits, even beyond prescribed hours.
Absolutely. In fact, TASMAC has complete monopoly over liquor sales in Tamil Nadu because it has over 6,000, which is exact number would be around 6,800 retail outlets across the state and an annual revenue of over 20,000 crore rupees, Shreya. Here's the story.
It's 11:05 p.m. and on the main road is a state-run liquor shop that sells liquor after business hours, but at a premium.
Anna, British Empire illingla?
British Empire ilanga.
Ennalam brand irukku?
Adu mattum dhaan irukku, max dhaan irukku.
Evlo adu?
170.
Dang. 6 மணிக்கு வந்தா கிடைக்குமா?
ஐயா சாமி, எப்ப வேணாலும் வாங்க.
The state government has promised to implement prohibition in a phased manner, shut 1,000 of 6,800 shops and reduce business timing by 2 hours. But people pay extra and get liquor with ease. The state gets 1/3 of its revenue from these outlets, that is 26,000 crore a year. Shutting them down is a tough job.
எவ்வளோ இது? $120 தான் போட்டிருக்கு. $120 தான் சார். MRP $120 தானே போட்டிருக்கு. எல்லா இடத்துலயும் அதே தான். தமிழ்நாட்டுல எல்லா இடத்துலயும் 130. அதான் எதுக்கு 120 போட்டிருக்குல்ல? எல்லாருக்கும் எல்லாமே தெரியும். நீங்க தான் புதுசா கேட்கிறீங்க.
While there have been anti-TASMAC protests across the state, nothing has changed on the ground. The state government's promise of a liquor-free Tamil Nadu is still just a pipe dream. These outlets continue to meet targets. It's business as usual. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
These state-run liquor outlets are open between noon and 10 p.m. but in reality, as the TASMAC employee says, you can go anytime, late night, in the wee hours of morning or even at 10 a.m. You still will get liquor but at a premium. Not just that, even during the business hours, they sell liquor for more than the MRP price. We will talk to Mr. Chandra Mohan, a member of Arapur Iyakam and also an activist. You've seen our expose. This is not something new that we've seen. But now because the state government is trying to implement prohibition in a phased manner, what do you think is happening on the ground?
First, the concept of the state government trying to bring in prohibition itself is it's a farce. Because it's just a publicity stunt. Jayalalitha did that, she closed 500 shops. Now Edapadi Palaniswamy came and said we are going to close 500 shops. If you look at it carefully, these are shops that doesn't have too much of sales, or these are shops that have been there with another shop which is in close proximity. So even if this shop gets closed, people go and buy over there. Now prohibition can never be a reality in India, I mean in Tamil Nadu at least, till DMK and ADMK is in power. The reason being, majority of the distilleries that supply to the TASMAC are owned by people in ADMK or in DMK. Police are used as security guards for TASMAC shops. That is all their job is.
So the sale of alcohol, Shreya, in Tamil Nadu is allowed between noon to 10 p.m. So what we have shown in this investigation is that it is being sold beyond that and perhaps till the morning, because what the investigation reveals that the excise officers are under a lot of pressure to ensure that they're able to give the right amount.
And the smart shopkeepers were making some money off it as well.
Yes.
Okay. The other big story came in from the Supreme Court today, and that's what's coming up next. The triple talaq hearing has begun. It will end in 6 days and will not examine polygamy. We are telling you all that has happened in the court today, but that's after a very quick break. Welcome back. The Supreme Court has started hearing the contentious triple talaq case. This is a 5-judge bench which is hearing the case, and they all belong to 5 different religions: Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Parsi as well. But Marya, ironically, not a single woman on that bench.
And that's quite shocking. In fact, a number of lawyers also shared that thought with me earlier today in the court, Shreya. The government has in fact told the Supreme Court that its stand in the matter is unbiased and it is focused solely on the issue of gender justice. Appearing for the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, senior Congress leader and veteran lawyer Kapil Sibal said that triple talaq is an issue of faith and therefore outside the ambit of judicial review. He asserted that only Parliament can make laws. The Supreme Court has clarified that the Constitution bench will only give its ruling on the validity of triple talaq and nikah halala. The bench will examine if they are integral to Islam and whether it is enforceable as a fundamental right or not. Now getting you details as to what really happened in the Apex Court today as it started this landmark hearing on the issue of triple talaq. The Supreme Court, remember, has made it clear that it would examine the validity of triple talaq and nikah halala, but will not examine polygamy since that's completely unconnected. The Apex Court's hearing, in fact, is basic on 2 points: whether triple talaq is integral part of Islam and hence immune from judicial review under Constitution, and whether violation of fundamental right can be argued against validity of triple talaq even if it is found to be an integral part of Islam. Kapil Sibal, in fact, appeared for All India Muslim Personal Law Board, and Additional Solicitor General Tushar Mehta told the Apex Court that the government's point of view is that the reason why the government is opposing triple talaq is because it is against gender injustice and believes in equality of women. Indra Jaising, and very important statement there coming from a senior counsel here, who told the court that not just for Muslims in triple talaq, this hearing is important because it will become clear that all personal laws of all religion are subject to fundamental rights. The first petitioner in this case is a 38-year-old housewife from Kashipur. Her name is Saira Banu. In fact, Shreya travelled to Kashipur in Uttarakhand to get you her story.
मैं साइरा बानू, मेरे शौहर ने 3 तलाक दी है.
Saira Banu is the unlikely face of the triple talaq debate in India. A middle-class housewife with 2 children who dragged the Union of India to the Supreme Court asking for the practice to be abolished after her husband sent her a talaqnama by post.
आपको शरीयत की रोशनी में ये कहते हुए कि मैं तुम्हें तलाक देता हूँ, तलाक देता हूँ, तलाक देता हूँ.
With 1 letter and 3 words, her 15-year-old marriage was over without her knowledge or her consent.
ये समाज के नियम कैसे हैं जो औरतों को बस तलाक 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 कह देने से पूरी उसकी ज़िंदगी एकदम समाप्त हो जाती है. इसलिए मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट गई कि ये जो 3 तलाक है, ये 3 तलाक की जो प्रथा है, इसको ख़त्म होना चाहिए.
38-year-old Saira's PIL in the Supreme Court wasn't the first asking for a ban on triple talaq, polygamy or halala. But her story caught the public imagination. It started soon after her wedding in 2002. Her husband Rizwan, a property dealer in Allahabad, started abusing her, hitting her and harassing her parents for a car. She was made to go through 7 abortions after having 2 children because birth control was deemed halal. She fell ill and was sent back to her parents' home. The talaqnama came 6 months later.
जब तक मैं ठीक थी तो तब तक उन्होंने रखा और उसके बाद में जब मैं बीमार पड़ गई तो उन्होंने मुझे उठा के फेंक दिया और मुझे तलाक दे दिया.
Saira's PIL has become the basis of a larger case that pits gender justice against the Sharia. It has also become a tug of war between the Narendra Modi government and the Muslim Personal Law Board that sees it as the first step towards a uniform civil code. 400 kilometers away from Saira's home in Kashipur is Lucknow. This is where lawyer Zafariyat Jilani, a member of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, is building his defense against Shaira's petition. His argument is simple. Laws made by man can be challenged, but laws made by Allah cannot.
Our faith is that these laws are eternal because they have the philosophy in that to remain in existence. Misuse of a law cannot be a ground of abrogation. I just refer to Article 356. Have you abrogated Article 356? It is being misused.
But the Prophet himself has had problems with the
Prophet did frown upon the person, but did not say that the talaq has not happened. That is what we are following. Prophet himself had the occasion to say so, but he did not say so. Had he said so, there was no question. We follow Prophet, each and every word of Prophet.
Is religion above equality? Is triple talaq in line with India's constitution? These are questions the Supreme Court will now decide on. Today was the first day of the hearing. Marya, you were there in the Supreme Court today, and the hearing goes on for the next 5 days. What are we expecting realistically from the from the Supreme Court? Are they really in a position to ban triple talaq? Is that something that is even on the table?
Well, I think right now the question is about the constitution validity. And the Apex Court has made it clear, their own stand, that they will be looking at the validity of triple talaq and nikah halala and not be even getting into polygamy. So whether the issue will be within the right to practice religion the way it has been happening in India. But let's be clear, Shreya, you know, the practitioners of Islam, particularly the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, has been giving its own interpretation of Quran. Quran has given rights to Muslim women, and it has made it clear that Muslim women should be given the right in terms of their equation. And there's no mention of triple talaq.
Exactly. There is no mention of triple talaq in the Quran. However, the Sharia allows it. And this is what the All India Muslim Personal Law Board says. The Prophet frowned upon it, but didn't scrap triple talaq, which means for us it is still valid. Of course, that's a question that will now be decided by the Supreme Court, Marya. 22 countries, Islamic countries, have
including
banned,
Bangladesh and Pakistan
have banned instant triple talaq.
That's right.
Well, it's a story that will continue to develop here in the national capital. But moving on to the other big story, the other big explosion that happened today, a day after Mayawati, BSP chief, expelled her trusted aide Nasimuddin Siddiqui, he has done an Aam Aadmi party on her. He has stung her, and how? Releasing audio tapes today to the media alleging that she demanded 50 crore rupees from him.
And in fact, Nasimuddin Siddiqui has alleged all this has been caught on tape. The BSP chief can be in fact heard asking for money from those seeking membership of the party. Mayawati has rubbished these charges, accusing Siddiqui of siphoning off money and blackmailing her.
सुश्री मायावती ने मुझे बुलाया और उन्होंने सबसे पहले यही सवाल किया कि मुसलमानों ने बीएसपी को वोट क्यों नहीं दिया। बोली कि मुसलमान गद्दार है। यहां तक कि उन्होंने दाढ़ी वाले मुसलमानों को जब ऐसे शब्द से नवाजा और कहा ये कुत्ते मेरे पास आते थे। एक दिन मुझे बुलाया, भाई यहां आओ, अकेले आना। मैंने कहा मैं अकेले तो वैसे ही आऊंगा जिसको आप कहेंगी, तभी मैं साथ में लाऊंगा। बोले 50 करोड़ रुपए की पार्टी को जरूरत है।
इस पे जब नोटबंदी हुई थी, इलेक्शन अनाउंस हो गया था, मैंने पूरे इंडिया से, प्रदेश से, पूरे इंडिया से मेंबरशिप का पैसा इकट्ठा किया था और उसी समय फिर मैंने जमा भी कराया था। और यहाँ से बहुत से यूपी में कुछ पैसा रह गया था 30%, कुछ पश्चिमी में ज्यादा रह गया था। लोगों ने दिया पैसा टाइम से। पश्चिमी के लोग कमजोर नहीं है, पूर्वांचल और अवध से, बुंदेलखंड से ज्यादा उनकी आर्थिक स्थिति ठीक है, लेकिन उनसे पैसा इन्होंने लिया और अपने कारोबार में लगा दिया। वो पैसा यहाँ जमा नहीं किया। थोड़ा तो जमा हो गया लेकिन पूरा नहीं। तो कहने लगा कि मैंने बोला भाई ये तो ठीक नहीं है। आपने जिन उम्मीदवारों को किताबें दिलवाई मेंबरशिप की, पार्टी के संगठन के लोगों को, वो हिसाब तो जमा कराओ। आधा पैसा आ गया, आधा कहाँ गया? आपने टेप में भी सुना होगा, मैं बार बार मेंबरशिप की बात कर रही हूँ। आपने सुना नहीं सुना उस चीज को? तो इसलिए मैं आपको ये बताना चाह रही हूँ कि अपनी कमजोरी को छिपाने के लिए तो इस किस्म की बेहूदी बात करना, मैं कभी इनको निकालना भी अपने मुंह से, मैंने सोचा इनको क्या निकालना है, तो इसको तो मैं अपनी पार्टी के जो और राष्ट्रीय महासचिव है उनको बोल देती हूँ। इतना बड़ा आदमी नहीं है कि मैं उसको पार्टी से निकालूं। मैं हमारी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय महासचिव मुनकाद अली, जो राज्यसभा के सदस्य हैं, जो 5 मंडल को देख रहे, जिनको ये फूटी आंख लायक नहीं करते, मैं उनसे भी निकलवा सकती थी इनको पार्टी से।
Mayawati is saying that Naseemuddin Siddiqui is not such a big man. Let me just tell you that he is the number 2 man, or at least till yesterday was the number 2 man in the BSP, the party's Muslim face. Pranshu Mishra is joining us on the phone line from Lucknow. Pranshu, this is interesting. Both Mayawati and Naseemuddin Siddiqui are accusing each other of siphoning of money.
Yes, that's right. In fact, see, the story here is that more than creating the legal trouble for Mayawati, Naseemuddin might have gone ahead to create a political trouble for Mayawati, which might be indicative of a shrinking base, the shrinking hold of a party. If you go through those audio tapes, there in no place Mayawati is heard demanding 50 crore rupees. That is what Naseemuddin Siddiqui had said off record, I mean, apart from what there is in the tapes. The entire conversation basically deals with the membership booklets, which Mayawati says is pending with Naseemuddin Siddiqui. So if you go by the content which has been released by Naseemuddin Siddiqui, nothing much could be built against Mayawati as far as the legal case or the charges of corruption are concerned. Of course, it's a different story that Naseemuddin was a very strong man in the BSP, had been with the party for 25 years. He knows a lot of secret, and his ouster from the party and his attack on Mayawati is more indicative of the weakening hold of Mayawati and the shrinking base, or shrinking electoral base of the BSP.
But where does he go from here on? Pranshu Mishra, thanks so much for joining us. And Shreya, Naseemuddin Siddiqui had said that there will be a political earthquake in Lucknow. And what really has happened?
Well, nothing much. First of all, someone has to listen to those audio tapes very carefully, because I'm not even sure what exactly is being said in those audio tapes. But Mayawati holding a press conference saying Naseemuddin Siddiqui is a traitor. So this tutu meme within the Aam Aadmi, I beg your pardon, well, the BSP is behaving like the Aam Aadmi party now, Marya. So this tutu meme, I think, will continue for a while, and I do think that Mr. Naseemuddin Siddiqui will have some more tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, because
some
he
more
is,
audio tapes, some more incriminating
he was,
evidence.
One of the closest aides, in fact, number 2 in the party, and now he has come out openly against Mayawati and come out with those tapes. He says that he has a lot of conversations which prove that Mayawati is...
well, he's not exactly washed in milk or doodh ka dhula, as they say. He's a co-accused with Mayawati in the Taj Corridor case. With that, it's a wrap from us on the show. We'll see you once again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Thank you and good night.